So what are the benefits to you as a business owner or a buyer in a particular company? It's easy and convenient to find the right vendor. You get multiple vendors all in one place. It takes your time down a whole notch. You get recommended and reliable vendor. You get introduced to the right person, usually the CEO, right away. And if you are part of an organization and you're doing the purchasing, you're going to be recognized by other people on your team for providing a great vendor quickly and easily. So what is the website where you can find all the vendors that we have? resourcereferralcenter.com/resources. It's right there. What we do is you take all B2B categories and we divide it up into divide all the B2B services into 9 categories. And you see them listed there: revenue generation, financing, technology, talent management and HR, employee wellness and safety, security and crisis management, professional services, facility management, operations and expenses. We figure that covers the gamut of all kinds of B2B services, and you can find vendors who can help you in each of those categories through the Resource Referral Center. All right, go to the next slide. So today we're going to focus on 2 panelists who are members of the Resource Referral Center. We've had webinars in the past, one last month that featured Frank and Rob, who are our experts in credit card strategies and cyber liability insurance. We featured others in the past that had to do with website development and targeted marketing. And we have another webinar going on next month that features our employee benefits person and our branded promotional products person, and how they can work together to help a company enroll their employees into employee benefit programs. And that'll be coming up in June. But today we have our panelists, Lisa and Sherry. So Lisa is the president of Munjek Marketing. She has a program called Empollinate, and so she calls herself the Queen Bee. And she works with small business owners to really develop their marketing strategy and to understand the tactics are going to really work for their particular target market. And a lot of her focus is on choosing the right target market. Sherry Goldman is the president of Goldman Communications. She's an award-winning public relations and marketing communications, the president of that award-winning public relations marketing communications agency. And she offers a variety of things around the world of PR, publicity, and marketing: strategic counsel, messaging, media relations and publicity, corporate communications, thought leadership programming. Both of these ladies have their outside interests. Like Lisa is also a yoga instructor, and Sherry is also an instructor at a college level. And we're going to get started with Lisa. So Lisa, I'm going to let you take it from here. I just do want to mention that we're going to be posting in the chat a document from both of them, which is going to enhance the tools that you have, and you can download them after they're posted in the chat. So watch the chat.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see some people I know, some people I don't yet. So what we're going to talk about today is this whole panel arose out of the fact that I would speak to people and they would be confusing marketing with PR or introduce me as a PR expert. I am not. Sherry is. So if we go to the next slide, we're just going to start with that 35,000-foot view of what is the difference between marketing and PR publicity. We'll talk about the difference between those two. So we can take that higher level view if it's owned media is marketing, and marketing's goal is to act as that massive magnet to attract your ideal client. And then we hope to convert them into a sale. And then there is the earned media. And that is what publicity is focusing on, is on the earned media. So let's go to the next slide and we'll talk about some of the commonalities between the two. So both of these, Jerry, if you wouldn't mind switching over, both of these enhance the credibility. So we all have competitors, no matter what we do. If you're an accountant, a bookkeeper, or you sell hair products, there are many competitors. So what we need to do to stand apart is to really build that credibility. We need to increase awareness for our business. And we need to build that trust. So marketing, we're making use of all of your owned media, your website, your social media, and we're using all of those to create these relationships. Sherry will talk more about PR, but Sherry, do you want to add anything to that right now?
Right, and public relations is earned media. It's actually demonstrating what you do and your expertise in getting others to talk about you that hopefully will drive them to your owned media. But we'll talk about that more in the second half.
Yeah, and it's almost like, what are people saying about you when you're not in the room? And that's what we're trying to manage. So let's go to the next slide so we can get into the meat of it. Who's doing our slides? All right, so okay, you can go to the previous one. So we're talking about, I deal with both B2B and B2C. I'm sorry, you can go to there was another one in between there. So B2B clients, that's perfect. That's a longer sales journey. We are trying to move them through the proverbial funnel, take them on that customer, that buyer journey. B2B clients do take longer. It is about building relationships. We're trying to focus on that one person that is making the purchasing decision. B2C, it's more about urgency. If it's that hair product, it's, hey, flash sale, get it now, or we only have a limited amount left. So it's more of an emotional one-to-one connection there. So let's continue. All right, the biggest, back to the beehive. Yeah, who are you talking to? Let's go to the beehive image here. So the very first thing you need to do, and a lot of people want to hop right ahead and go into the tactics. Who are you talking to? Usually you're not talking to yourself, and people business owners tend to talk to themselves. Most likely you're not your customer. So we really need to get deep into understanding who is your customer. And we do that. And you're going to have a bit of homework that we're going to share with you where you can fill it out to try to get closer to that clarity on who you're talking to. And you'll see in the beehive, there are a number of different things that we're looking for here to drill down. If you've had your business for a little while, I've had mine for 10 years, the competitive landscape might have changed since when you started this to now. So think back, even if you have done this work a few years ago, see how it's changed. How has the competitive landscape changed? If you're a bookkeeper, are other bookkeepers doing something else? What are the key traits? Does this person own a rescue dog or a purebred? Do they go to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's? Like really get into their heads and understand who this person is. Once you understand who this person is, then you can create an avatar, which is a written story. And let's go to the next slide. It's really more of a storytelling about who this person is. Once we understand who this person is, that's going to inform the photo. So let's say this person has an 11-year-old daughter, we've determined. She's in her 40s, she has an 11-year-old daughter, she has a rescue dog. On their website, even if she's a bookkeeper, I might have an image on there of her with her rescue dog and her daughter playing in the park, because that's going to appeal to my target market. If I'm a lawyer, I might want to show the scales of justice and me looking all tough and with my arms crossed. But believe it or not, if my target market again is that woman, I might want to think about my imagery, the colors I'm using on my site, the font I'm using on my site might be a little bit softer. And then that also leads in the tone that you're going to take with your content, even your promotional items that you're going to be purchasing for them. And then offline engagement, like you might sponsor a rescue dog event in your community. So let's move on to the next slide. I love talking about content. I get all tingly when I talk about content. All right. So content marketing is important at every stage of the funnel. We call it tofu, mofu, and then there's bofu. Top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. And you've all heard this, I'm sure. we're getting that big magnet. We are attracting our customers and we're moving them down the funnel, but content is important at every single part. So we know that content, we're using it to establish our credibility. We are writing to appeal to our target market. We are hoping to educate, entertain, inspire. Overall, it's building credibility. We are establishing ourselves as the thought leader. And then if it's part of a newsletter, it's a great way to keep in touch and top of mind with our customers so they remember what we do and who we are, because our inbox, we're getting pushed down all the time, social media getting pushed down. So this is something that you need to really continually, consistently post really relevant content. All right, so let's move on. And I just want to make a note here, and you can stay on this slide. Education, it depends on the age of your client. So let's say your client is 50 plus. That's who you've identified. My client's 52 years old. They're going to be more interested in educational content. We want to be informed. We want to be educated. If it is under that, if it's like 40 and under, they're more about the entertainment aspect. Everybody responds to humor though. So it should always be a mix, but the age of your ideal client should inform the type of content that you are providing. And we'll talk about the different types of content, but as we mentioned, it's necessary for every stage of the journey. It is also crucial for search engine optimization. And SEO is thought of as, and we'll talk about this in a second, but SEO is such a massive term. It covers so much. It is not just buying Google Ads. When you're writing a blog, when you're writing your social media content, often those things come up first in a search, and you need to understand your buyer's search intent. What is the pain that they're feeling? You don't just want to promote your services. What pain are you solving for them? And then know your keywords and phrases. And I'm happy to share the tool that I use to find keywords and phrases that will align with my ideal buyer. All right, so let's go to the next slide. There are many, many, many different types of content. These are the top. I start with a blog. This is what I do with my clients. We start with a blog. It could be 500 words. It could be 1,200 words. Google tends to like slightly longer blogs, but they're all good as long as you're incorporating your keywords and phrases. You don't want to jam pack them with keywords and phrases, but you want to be very aware of the search intent of the buyer. So blogs are always number one. I am a big fan of gated downloadable content. Gated means almost like a gated community. You've got to give the gatekeeper, which is the business owner, some information in order to download that content. Make it short. Name, email address, voila, here you go, here's some content. Big fan of short form videos. If you're on Instagram, 58 seconds, that's it. Same with Facebook. LinkedIn, tiny bit longer, don't go over 2 minutes. Podcast, of course, fantastic. Guesting on a podcast, having your own. Webinars, just putting one of those together for a client, they are phenomenally successful. Emails, newsletters to keep in touch with current clients. And then even if you have a website, you also want to do landing pages for your services. All right, so there is nothing more daunting than looking at a blank screen. ChatGPT, I could do a whole hour on that. It is not going to be sufficient for your content for a number of reasons. We can talk about that offline if you're interested. So here's what you can do to make life easier. Just some tips for your monthly blog. Interview one of your customers. You can use guest posters. A guest poster is somebody that's complementary to your business. So for me, it might be somebody who specializes in social media, and that's going to help me attract clients. Doing a poll can be very interesting and also lead to future content. Define some of your jargon. We all speak in our own language. Like I said CMO the other day, and somebody's like, what the heck is that? So people didn't know. Profile staff, day in the life, UGC is user-generated content. Debunk a myth about what you do. And then my favorite, go to Reddit, type in what you do. Again, if it's bookkeeping, it could be like filing taxes, and then type in the word rant. You're going to get some very interesting content to write about. And then LinkedIn conversations are also like a gold mine of information, not the posts, but the conversations in LinkedIn posts. So let's move on. All right, SEO, let's go to the next one. I think these are fascinating, and I won't go through every few, but what this, and you guys can read through it, but there are a ton of searches every day. The majority of people making any sort of decision, whether it's for a business, professional service, or a product, they're doing their research first online. Remember also that the majority of people are looking at your website on their phone. So please make sure that it looks great on a phone. It's something like 87% of people are looking at stuff on their phone. So you need to really make sure that you are consistently and accurately and strategically posting on about your business, understanding who the customer is, because people are looking at your reviews, your written testimonials, you want video testimonials. This is high, but it takes as many as 20 times, 20 touch points for your customer to say, I am in. Those touch points need to vary. We're not talking about posting on Instagram every day. It could be direct mail. It could be social. It could be a blog. It could be a phone call, a networking meeting, a bunch of different things. And then on average, and this we discussed might be a little low, people check up to 7 different social media channels every month. So the other big question I get asked, why the heck do I need to post on social? I'm not getting any sales. Again, if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant, don't expect to get sales on social. It is about branding. It is about your getting higher in the Google rankings. It is establishing your credibility. You do want to drive traffic to your site because people build these beautiful sites and they're like, why isn't anybody going to my website? You've got to post. You've got to do that. And then always have people make sure your bio has your link to go over to your site. Or if you have a webinar, change the link and put that in there. You're establishing brand authority. And then people get to know you as a person, that you're more than just a business. Finding out which platform's right for you. Facebook tends to skew a tiny bit older. It's about 50% or 25 to 44, but it has the highest amount of 55 plus. So Facebook, if you know your client is 50 plus, is probably the place for you. LinkedIn, we know, is for business. Twitter, I'm not going to talk too much about because the jury's kind of out on that right now. Instagram, half the clientele, half the users are from 18 to 34. They do have about 5% of users are 55 plus. So determine who you're talking to. TikTok, 50% are between ages 10 and 29. Yes, they do have a fast growing segment that are 55 plus, but if that's your target, then you don't really need TikTok. But please, please, please post on your Google business profile. Make sure it's optimized, post on there weekly. Google loves it and it will help with your rankings. So I'm going to hand it over to Sherry so we can put the other piece of the puzzle together because marketing and PR play very well together.
They really do. Thanks, Lisa. And public relations supports marketing and vice versa. I mean, they're all part of what we call the marketing mix. So the answer is, if you're doing marketing, do you need public relations? And the answer is yes, because marketing is all about you saying, I'm great. Here's my services. Here's what I'm selling. Here's what I know. Public relations is going to leverage the influence of others. So others are going to be saying, they're great. They're an expert. They're smart. You're standing on the credibility of others. And whether that credibility is reporters and the media that is featuring you in stories or interviewing you as guests, whether it's organizations that are having you as a speaker, like we are here today, public relations is that. So it's really building those relationships and building your reputation, which will people hear about you a lot of places. They'll go, I want to know more. And they will kind of Google you then and find your website or look for a hashtag and find you on social, the marketing things you're doing. So the next slide, public relations leverages the credibility of others. When we say earned media, we'll talk about that a little bit, but it's reporters saying something about you, influencers saying something about you, strategic partners. So others prioritizing how fabulous you are. And it's an opportunity to demonstrate your expertise. We all know we're thought leaders. We all say we're experts, and your marketing says that. But this is an opportunity for you to demonstrate it, to position it, to be out there showcasing it. And that's one of the key differences between public relations and marketing. So what can public relations do for you? It creates awareness, it educates and informs audiences, it positions you. And I've got to say, it reaches a broad audience in a very cost-effective manner. And who doesn't love to do that these days? So public relations and publicity, people think they are the same, but they're really not the same. Public relations is that broad spectrum of disciplines of what we do. Publicity, media relations, earned media, getting that editorial coverage is just one piece in our public relations toolbox in our puzzle. It's probably the most sought after piece because public relations people are the only people that do that. And some of the other things we cross over with other disciplines, but it is the most credible piece. And that's where we think every campaign should have a piece of it. And I'm going to kind of help you today understand how to do it for yourself. So here's a little DIY in publicity to identify your story and why it's important for the media to tell. And I'm going to go through this in a little more detail later on. But like where Lisa was saying, your story for marketing, especially if you're B2C, is sales, deadlines, what you're selling. That's not a story for public relations. That's a marketing story. A story for public relations is maybe how your product solves a problem for someone, but they're not writing about your sales or your products. So we identify who to pitch it to, we pitch the story, and then we follow up. And I'm going to take you through that process right now. So what creates an effective story? The story has got to be relevant for the audience that the media's audience. So you want to be in your local newspaper, and your local newspaper is going to say, why should I write about the story? How do the people that buy my newspaper care? How does what you're selling impact the people that are buying my newspaper? Because they're not about writing about you. They're writing about something that's important to them. So we have to figure that out. We have to talk about problem solving, how you solve a problem. If you're an accounting firm, they're not going to write about you're an accounting firm, but they might write about how you helped save a homeowner money and they didn't foreclose on their home. They got to stay in their home. So it's a case study. It's a problem solution, and make it timely and relevant. Again, if you're an accounting firm, the media is not booking you as a guest on the morning news in July. They're just not covering that. But they are covering it in March and April when people are doing taxes. And they are covering that in December for end of year tax tips. So we've got to really identify a story that's not about who you are. If it's doggy daycare, then what are the news hooks that we can use for doggy daycare? And it's maybe people are taking vacations in the summer, and maybe that's your news hook, but we don't have something as much in March where they're going to cover it. We want to humanize it whenever possible. And that's what means, like, don't say something about yourself. Bring your client along for this story. So problem solution, you help so-and-so, so bring that so-and-so along. Here's the family you help keep in their home. Here's the student you help finance college. Here's the family that couldn't go away to someone's graduation because no one watched their dog. And here's how you help them. Bring it all and make it as broad as possible and humanize it. Media loves case studies and human interest stories. So what they need is targeted, clear information. Pitch a story that's not about you. Tell them why their audience should care. Tell them how you have helped somebody. Tell them how you've solved a problem. If you're a marketing company and you want a story about your marketing tips, you have to tell them not that you're a marketing company, but how that you helped a struggling business in their community through your marketing tips, and that company is now successful. Yes, it's kind of sharing the story, but that makes the story real, and it's not about you. And that's the difference between marketing and public relations. Ideally, give them news that they can get from places they can't get anywhere else but yourself. So create proprietary tips and news. Top 10 things to do this. The top 10 things, go back. We're not done yet. And thank you. And also be a resource. If you're reaching out to the media and they call you for something and it's not about you, don't say, I don't want to talk to you. Be a resource. When they are up to doing a story about your topic, they'll call you if you're a resource. If you were not helpful to them, they will definitely move on. And now you can move on. So identify the media to be targeted. What is the media that you want to write to? And then you have to find the right reporter that covers the topic that you want, or the producer that books that guest. You find it simply, if there's a website, scroll down to the bottom, look for Contact Us, see if they have an editorial newsroom. Call them up and say, I'd like to send you some information or a pitch on a story. Who do I send it to? And then you have to pitch the whole story. Local media wants local news hooks. I mean, my clients all want to be in the New York Times. And the first thing the New York Times says to me is, what do you have going on in New York City? And are they based here? And if they're not interested. So find something local. If it's a community newspaper or weekly, you've got to get something in their community. They're not covering the next town over. If it's Brooklyn, there's 20 community newspapers. There's none for even the whole borough. Consumer media requires things be timely and newsworthy, and ideally avoid being evergreen. Evergreen means they could do the story today, tomorrow, 6 weeks from now, 2 years from now. Make it timely. If you're a bakery, look at the national events calendar and find out when it's National Cupcake Day. And then 2 weeks before, say it's National Cupcake Day, I can pitch a story about cupcakes to the media. Try and find any crazy holiday, any crazy news hook that you can get to make it timely. And that gives them a sense of urgency to cover it. And if you're pitching a story, okay, so what you do, next slide, is you send them an email once you find out who it is. Next one before that, find out or send it to them, email it to them, offer them an opportunity to interview somebody. If you're pitching TV, you've got to tell them how many visual locations you could have. TV wants visuals. These reporters and producers are so busy. We have to package the story for them and give it all to them that they'll do it.
Sorry.
If you're just opening a new location, if you have a new hire and you want to have that, write a press release and just send the press release to the media and then post it on your website, and consider distribution services like PR Newswire that send it to the media. And timing is key. So media works on different lead times. You can switch over the slide, Jerry. Thank you. For breaking news as a media, but most of us don't have breaking news. Even if it's feature stories, like National Cupcake Day, media for features works a minimum of 2 weeks lead time. Holiday features are 3 months in advance. So believe it or not, newspapers are now working on figuring out what stories they want to cover for back to school, because they write about back to school in August. We haven't even started summer yet, and they're on back to school. You want to pitch a story to a monthly magazine? They're working on December now. So this is literally Christmas time. Pitch your Christmas story to them. You have a B2B story, as much as 2 to 3 months in advance lead time. And then just remember, media relations is great because you're leveraging the credibility. If a journal writes about you, a newspaper, that's credibility more than you saying something about yourself. But there's another piece of the puzzle. Demonstrate your expertise, and that's what public relations is broader. You can switch speaking engagements, get out there and speak in your community or create community events. I have a client that's a credit union, and they give mortgages. We can't just pitch stories about mortgages. We run home buying seminars for them, bring people, demonstrate their expertise, book them on panels to speak, and then write about it and make sure everything that you do is cross-promoted in your marketing. So you post it on your website, you post it in your social media, you include it in your marketing campaigns, because everything, this puzzle has to all work together. And hopefully I spoke fast enough. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Sherry. It's great to have you and to have Lisa. Please check the chat. Marcia has posted a link there where you can download a document, both from Sherry and from Lisa. And we're going to go to breakout rooms.